that we say something about Mother's Day. First of all, today is called Mother's Day. The flower shops sold out of flowers. It was very difficult to get a phone call across the country. You may have gotten an answer. You may have gotten a recording that said, call back later because the lines are filled. Now, those mothers who are being wined and dined today, some of them anyway, and who receive all of this spontaneous love and care, next week, some of them will be lonely and alone because of a tradition that says today is Mother's Day. We know in our worldview, that is the Muslim worldview, motherhood is every single day. God tells us in the Quran that we should not speak harshly or in a disrespectful manner to our parents, because they are the ones who, Rabbiyani Sagira, they are the ones who cared and nurtured us when we were too small to care for ourselves. The same society that says mother is beautiful and important, a mother is necessary, rationally exploit and work subtly to destroy the concept of motherhood. A society that does not respect what Prophet Muhammad said, that education is a universal requirement for every man and woman, is a society that has lost its moral consciousness. If you're not educated, sister, the society starts out from behind with 3 strikes against it. I'm not talking about the ideas of parenthood that we learn in the halls of academia. They're so way out there that they are now promoting same-sex marriages, 2 daddies, 2 mommies. I'm talking about what Allah, our God, has established as mother and father and children from the very beginning of human society. God says in the Quran that He created us from one soul, male and female. And there's much more. There's nafs and wahi there. We don't have time to go into that. But this is one soul. Man and woman is created from that, which means that we have the same essence. We're equal. A great man once said, where there are no decent women, there are no decent men. Why do you think that the native tongue of a woman is called the mother tongue? Because we learn our first lessons from our mothers as we are nursing at her breast. If that mother is educated and God-fearing, then that is what she would transmit to her children. But if she has been taken over by the trends of the society, by materialism, then she will pass that on to her children, and those children may grow up and become candidates for the prison system. A prison system that incarcerates more people than in any other society in the world. You say, how can you draw that conclusion? It's a very logical conclusion. There's a writer by the name of Karen Alexander who wrote a book called The New Jim Crow. And she traces the history of Jim Crow law from its very beginning under another name and how it progressed from slavery to Jim Crow and now the prison industrial complex where over 60% of those housed in the prisons are African Americans. Now, what I'm going to say is not to condemn the efforts of our women to get a formal education. I'm simply going to point out that because of this training, our children were not filling up before this training, before all of this training, our children were not filling up all of these prisons. And there's recognition of that problem today among professional, high-earning women who are not giving up prestigious, high-earning professions to concentrate on marriage and raising a family. out of necessity to fulfill their God-given natures of wife and motherhood. Marriage and children have become their first priority. Many of those women are now demanding a work schedule that complements their need to spend time with their families, or simply working from home or starting their own businesses. How did these problems happen that are happening in our neighborhoods and our society every day that a few years ago would not have been tolerated? How did it happen? The influences came into our home and into our families, and we paid to bring them in. We bought bigger television sets, bigger, louder record players. Now they have earpods, or I think that's what we call them, AirPods. And before we knew it, the family was all divided. The children was downstairs watching TV. Daddy was upstairs watching television. And Mama was in the kitchen watching her own personal television as she put the TV dinner in the oven. And over these mediums came ideas that destroyed what used to be sacred. Respect for God was wiped out. Respect for fatherhood and motherhood was wiped out. The respect that was given not by the government, not by the politician, the respect that was given by Almighty God through the prophets of God. Imam W.D. Muhammad, our late leader, emphasized the importance of the mother role in society. And just a word or two about the sisters organization that we have here. The Committee to Enhance the Role of Women in Society. SERVICE is the acronym. As I recollect it, this is the name given to the women's group that replaced the Muslim Girl Training General Civilization class that we call the MGT-GCC. The name SERVICE suggests a more mature role for the women in our community, while the MGT was mainly concerned with teaching the women of our community how to be homemakers, which was defined as cooking, sewing, taking care of their husband and children. SERVICE was meant to define the role of women in a broader and more mature way, maintaining the role of nurture in society at home and abroad. The role of nurture and caretaker is needed not just in the home, but in every part of society. No matter what you become outside of the home, you will always be what God created you to be, and that is a mother. I remember a very thoughtful and insightful talk that Imam Muhammad gave to an audience of women, defining how big that responsibility is. He said, as a child, we need mother. In education, we need mother. As a professional, we need mother. He said, even if you become the President of the United States, you need a mother. In concluding, there's a natural correlation between community, mother, and imam. Imam is one who leads the community. If I say ummi, it means my mother. If I say ummah, we're talking about the community. If I say imam, I'm talking about a leader. And they're all from the same root. Hamza, Mim, and Mim. That means that the nurturing nature that God has naturally given women is expanded as an influence on the development of community life. And as we said, it does not matter what stage of human development it is in, whether it's home, family, or society, it needs the sentiments of a mother. The mother sentiment is one of tender care and nurturing. There's salvation. That is salvation for our society, for saving our society. Those of us who have made the sacred journey to Hajj, we know that the men, we take off our cultural clothes and we put on clothes that's called an ikram. The women don't have to do that because they are already just right. Men do that because it's a sign that we're going back. We're going back to our natural selves, the self that was like a baby with no sin. It wasn't the women who messed this world up. As Imam Muhammad said, it's men who messed this world up. The Imam is the leader in Islam. And that role is to be filled by a man. It means in no way that this role is superior to the role of a mother. It is not. Sisters, if you knew the great and beautiful role that God has bestowed on you, you would have no desire to be an imam, because you would take pride in knowing that every imam had or has a mother. You nurtured and cared for him when he needed it as a small child. And as a grown man, he still needs the sentiments that you put into him. Show me an imam that is not attached sentimentally to his community like you are attached to your family, sister. I will show you one that will not last very long. The imam must love the community like you as a mother loves your family. These are very important things for us, and I think they signify the importance of this mother role and why we wanted to do something that's very special for our sisters. And this is something that we've been doing now for the last few years. And the brothers who come out here and sacrifice their time, Brother Jerry and others, you know, they really put a hurting on that food. And I love that food. Maybe some of you don't, but I love that food. And I love the efforts that they put into making sure that you are well fed and that you are enjoying yourselves. So thank you very much for those few words. And we're going to conclude by saying Ramadan Mubarak. I mean, may you have a blessed Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum.